Good afternoon, DFS Army. It's Craig Bennett, aka Cascade, here with another NBA First Look podcast. We'll go over some injury news, build some sample lineups on DraftKings. We will do FanDuel as well at the end of the show, like always. And again, just talk overall about the slate as we go game by game through a nice 9-gamer on March 4th, 2021. Last slate until the All-Star break. We won't have NBA until next week, so enjoy the slate. Get a little break. Again, working on a few projects that I'm going to start up after the All-Star break. But we got NASCAR coming on, MMA, everything over at DFSArmy. So if you want to head on over there and sign up and get some of that action with no NBA, use promo code CashCake. Save yourself 10%. If you like these videos, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification so you know when we upload these videos. And with that, let's jump right into this bad boy and see what we got on tap for today's 9-game slate. All right, first thing we got here is Toronto at Boston. It's 220 over under. Boston favored by 8. Toronto has a ton of injuries. They got beat by Detroit last night. Detroit could not miss. OG Anunoby's out. McCall's out. Van Fleet, Siakam, Flynn. They are all out for Toronto. It's going to be Lowry and Powell. Powell's priced up to $7K on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, he is priced at $7,400. They've priced him up from yesterday. He was a lot cheaper than yesterday. He's gonna shoot again. Hit this prop yesterday is over 22.5 points. If they're gonna stay in it, it's gonna be the back of Lowry and Powell. I'm sorry. My worry is it's on a back-to-back. They just got beat up against Detroit. There's weirder things that happen in the NBA. On the Boston side, they're only without Marcus Smart and Romeo Langford. So they have their 3 studs. I think it's going to be very difficult for Toronto to stay in this, coming on this back-to-back. But again, if you're going to play any of these guys, I would run it back with a Boston guy. Lowry is $8,400 on DraftKings, $8,500 on FanDuel. Again, they're going to see a ton of minutes. If this game stays close, we're going to see probably 38 to 40 minutes out of Lowry and Powell. It's all on them. They didn't start Chris Boucher. He came off the bench last yesterday. $6,600 on DraftKings, $6,600 on FanDuel. And I think that's better for him because you don't have to really work for a shot. He scored pretty decent yesterday. And I think that's what we're going to look at. These guys are not going to be owned, though, because I think going up against Boston on that back-to-back, if I'm going to take a shot on anybody, it would definitely be Powell over Lowry, just for the sole fact that he's cheaper. I don't mind both of them in tournaments if you think this game stays close. But like I said, if you do, I would run it back with at least one Boston guy. I'm not really too interested in any of these other guys. Aaron Baines, $3,900 on DraftKings, $4K on FanDuel. He got the start, but don't really love it here. It's really Boucher, Lowry, or Powell, and again, it all thinks if you think this game stays close. I have a hard time thinking it does. Just seeing how they played against Detroit. But again, it's the NBA. They could come out on fire. Lowry and Powell could come off pissed off after that loss last night and just absolutely hand it to them. And that, guys that can put up 60 that are sub, on FanDuel, they're going to be sub 10% going up against Boston. No one's going to own them. Over on DraftKings, maybe we'll see a little bit of Powell there. Bembry, I guess you could look at $3,800 on DraftKings. 5K on FanDuel is a no-go, but on DraftKings, I guess you're going to look at a cheap option here on Toronto. But I'm not going to throw any of these guys in the lineup. But again, I think they're playable, and Powell would be the one guy I would lean on. And I might throw him in here just to get going here, just because he's 7K. But it's pretty rough going up against Boston here. Over on the Boston side, we have Tatum at $9,200 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he is priced at $9K. I think you can play him all day long going up against this Toronto team. Again, I do worry that it does get a little out of hand. But again, how the NBA's been, who knows? Jaylen Brown, $8,200 on DraftKings, $8,400 on FanDuel. Don't really like playing him when Kemba Walker's in. Kemba Walker's $7K on FanDuel, $7,200 on DraftKings. I think I prefer playing him over Brown if you're going to pick one. Daniel Tice, $5,100 on DraftKings. He is priced at $4,900 on FanDuel. That's a good price of him on FanDuel, so I don't mind him. I don't think I can play the Time Lord here or Tristan Thompson, both 5,300 and 5K on FanDuel, and 4,600 on DraftKings, 4,500 on DraftKings for Thompson. So I guess if you look at Kemba Walker would be the one guy I would run this back. If you just wanted one piece from this, these guys are going to be, again, around sub 10% owned on this 9-game slate, just for what it is. So I don't think you need to play any of these guys in this game, but those are the guys I would look at. I wouldn't get too crazy. On a 9-gamer, I wouldn't reach too far out. There's going to be other places we can look for value. Let's head on over to the Clippers at Washington. 235 over under. Clippers favored by 5.5. Marcus Morris is doubtful. Kawhi Leonard is questionable, and Patrick Patterson is out. Now, Kawhi Leonard, I wasn't on him that night, and I don't think a lot of people were when he got that late scratch, and then Paul George kind of went off here. So, again, the NBA's got to do a better job at this crap. I've said over and over. It's just ridiculous, especially with sports betting money and getting legalized in the States. They got to do a better job at this whole injury reporting stuff. So Kawhi Leonard, 9,700 on FanDuel, 9,100 on DraftKings. I'm not going to play him regardless. It's a great matchup against Washington. If he is out, Paul George at 8,600 on DraftKings, 7,900 on FanDuel is a stupid price. He would crush that. Probably would be a core play for me, honestly, for Paul George there. And then we would have to look at some other guys if Kawhi Leonard out. Reggie Jackson probably get the start again. He's 5,300 on FanDuel. He's 3,900 on DraftKings. Stupid cheap on DraftKings. But we need this Kawhi Leonard news. I mean, but that's a stupid cheap price for him. Nicholas Batum, 4,200 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he's sitting at where's he at? 4,200 as well. So that's a cheap tag on him. Again, if Kawhi Leonard is out, I'd have some of these secondary guys like that. But Paul George is the main guy I would look at putting in here. Again, 8,600 is a little expensive, but without Kawhi Leonard in a great matchup against Washington, I have no problem running him out there. So we kind of need that news. It's being late. The Clippers favored by 5.5, and I would think they'd be favored a little bit more than that against Washington, but they've been playing pretty decent ball lately. I don't know. We'll throw them in this lineup. And then I think I'll throw in Reggie Jackson as well, just at 3,900. But again, we could change this up. This would be only if Kawhi Leonard is out. I would play Jackson and Paul George here. If he's in, I'm just going to kind of like skip over this whole team. I don't like playing them. But 120 implied team total. They got to score some points here. And we know it's going to be on the back of Paul George. And again, if Reggie Jackson gets the start, again, with Kawhi Leonard out, I kind of like him at that price. Over on the Washington side, again, it's going to be Russell Westbrook. Beal, that's basically who runs the show here. Beal is 10-4 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DraftKings. And the same thing, Westbrook's 10-4 on DraftKings, 9,600 on FanDuel. Again, better price on FanDuel for Westbrook. He's been on a roll with, basically getting close to a triple-double every game. Didn't quite get there against Memphis. But before that, he's got 2 out of his last 4 games are triple doubles, but putting up 58, 47, 60, and 52 fantasy points. He's playing mega minutes again, getting stuff done. Again, if one of Kawhi Leonard is out, that defense is going to go down a ton. So Paul George can't guard both of Bradley Beal and Kawhi Leonard. I'm sorry, Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. I would assume that we would see more Paul George on Bradley Beal than we would Westbrook, and so I would just prefer him out of everybody. I don't really love anybody else here on this team going up against the Clippers. For me, it's just Westbrook would be the one guy I would look at. Mo Wagner, again, has been starting 3,300. I guess you could look at him in tournaments, but again, on a massive slate like this, I don't like to try to get too different and too crazy on some of these guys. So not sure I love that. It's basically just Westbrook for me or bust. Let's move on to Detroit at New York. We have a 208.5 over-under. Really low over-under. New York favored by 7. On the Detroit side, Frank Jackson and Josh Jackson are both questionable. Again, Blake Griffin is not going to play anymore. They're just waiting to buy his butt out. DeLon Wright is out, and then Jeremy Grant is questionable. On the New York side, elf on a shelf Peyton is doubtful, Taj Gibson's doubtful, and Derrick Rose is questionable. So lots of moving pieces on this game. Very low over-under, but man, Dennis Smith Jr. went off yesterday with these guys being out. No Wright, no Grant, no Jackson. Dennis Smith Jr. actually put a 50-piece up in 27 minutes with the triple-double. So as you can see, he's been rolling pretty well. 51, 30, 30, 31. Still only played 27 minutes. I think those minutes will probably uptick a little bit more in a competitive game. Now it is going against his old team here that traded him and in New York in the Garden. So I don't mind playing here. I'm gonna throw Smith in this lineup, but this all hinges upon if Grant is gonna play or some of these other guys. We need to know if Josh Jackson or Frank Jackson is gonna play, Jeremy Grant. If these guys are out, he's gonna play heavy minutes again. They looked really good yesterday against Toronto, pulled off the win, but it all hinges upon if these guys are going to play or not. He's 4,800 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he's priced at 5,500. So he's very much in play. Mason Plumlee again. If all these guys are out, 6,400 on DraftKings, 6,300 on FanDuel. I think he put up a 50 piece as well. Yeah, he put up 50 fantasy points as well. Got himself a triple double as well. So guys, I think you can look at playing. But we need this news because Plumlee can tear up Noel, no problem. I ain't worried about that. So I think both of these guys are in play. If Jeremy Grant plays, I still think you can play some Dennis Smith Jr. if these other guys are out. But it would definitely boost them more if they did sit and we got there. So we'll throw Plumlee in this lineup as well. But again, all this hinges upon the news. Over on the Knicks side, Randall's 9,600 on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, he's 9,300. No problem playing him. Nerlens Noel, they've moved him to center on FanDuel, it looks like. He's no longer power forward, which is good and bad. He's going to play a ton of minutes. No Taj Gibson out there. He's 5,500 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's 5,600. Again, center eligible here. 26, 35, 23, 22. He's doing nothing to kill you if you don't play him at that price tag. So I don't think you have to go there. I would rather play Plumlee all day long than I would play Noel at that price. RJ Barrett, is kind of interesting on FanDuel because he's small forward at 5,900, 6K on DraftKings. Only if Derrick Rose is out, because if Rose is in, he's going to take a lot of that. But if Derrick Rose is out again, we could look at going and we have no Elf on a Shelf and no Derrick Rose. We could look at going right back to Quickly. They did start Frankie Nicotine, man, and that's fine. I ain't playing that dude. He don't play offense. Quickly came off the bench. He is 5,100 on FanDuel. He is 5,300 on DraftKings. Played 29 minutes against San Antonio in that loss, and they ended up putting up 41 fantasy points. Put up 21 shots in 29 minutes. That's what this kid does. He's a baller, man. He ain't afraid to shoot. 6 for 13 from 3. Put up 41 fantasy points. So if Rose is out again, I'll go right back to Quickly again. And I don't expect him to start. I think Tibbs will do the same kind of thing. But if they need offense, they're going to go to him. Alec Burks, 4,800 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. Quickly's the guy that I want. He's the one that's got the biggest upside here. So he's the one I'll gravitate towards the most. So I'm going to take out Reggie Jackson here. I'm going to throw him Quickly in this lineup. So that's where I look at it. Again, Randall's a little too pricey for me on this slate. I don't think I'm going to go to him. I'll lean on Quickly, maybe some Noel, maybe some Burks, and that's about it. Let's move on to the next game here. Game number 4, Denver at Indy. This game is a 226.5 over-under. Denver favored by 4.5. No Paul Millsap or JaMychal Green still. No Campazzo. Hampton's out. Howard. Gary Harris is out for Denver. On the Indy side, they're pretty healthy here. But again, on the Denver side, we all know it's the Jokic show, man. I mean, he's just been absolutely putting on just absolutely smashing here in these shows. So that's who we're going to look at. Jamal Murray, 8,500 on DraftKings. He's priced at 8,800 on FanDuel here. Michael Porter Jr., 6,600 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings. I don't think that's somewhere that we need to go either. But someone that we can look at price-wise. Let's see what else we got here. But Jokic going up against, if we got the one thing about Denver, we got to remember, Indy, they're on a back-to-back here. The one thing that they do suck at is any kind of athletic big. So if there's anybody that can move around and Jokic can. I mean, there's no way that Turner's going to keep up with him. My whole thing is, are they going to be able to keep up with him? That's my only thing. I mean, we know Jokic is going to put up monster numbers night in and night out. I mean, I thought he was going to struggle on that back-to-back, and he didn't. So FanDuel at 11.6 though, 10.9 on DraftKings. It is pricey, but on a slate this large, usually you can find some value to get to a guy like that. I think he's in play on both sites. I don't know if we can fit him in this lineup here. Let me try. If we put him in here, We got 3,500 left. That's pretty tough. And that's why I don't think we're going to get guys like Powell with Paul George. I might take Powell out of this lineup in particular here to fit Jokic in, because I mean, just the way he's been playing, it's been absolutely ridiculous. Just got that triple double, 2 out of last 4 games triple doubles. But look at this, 74, 77, and that 74 was on a back-to-back at Milwaukee. I figured he was going to smash Chicago, but at Milwaukee, I mean, he's just like, hey, taking the team on his back. Again, they're getting ready for the All-Star break, so no reason for all these guys to go out here and not, put up a good game. But 74, 77, 61, 56. No problem playing him on both sites. Jamal Murray is just going to be a tournament option for me. Michael Porter Jr., 6,800 on DraftKings, just tournament option for me. Maybe more so on FanDuel at 6,600. I'd play him there. Jamal Murray at 8K is better to play on FanDuel as well. And then Monte Morris, 4,600 on FanDuel is a decent price. 4,900 on DraftKings, I don't want to play it. And then Will Barton, I don't like it against this Indy team, but he's 5,600 on FanDuel, 5,500 on DraftKings. So don't love it too much here. That's where I'm going to kind of sit. I'm just going to play Jokic here on this game and just kind of move on. On the Indy side, holy crap. Let's talk about TJ McConnell real quick. This old boy set the NBA mark in steals and a half. He had 9. I think the 11 is the steal mark for a game in the NBA. And that old boy did it, got 9.5. And he put up 66 fantasy points on DraftKings. It was over 70 on FanDuel because you get the 3 for a steal. Triple-double with steals. Pretty impressive. 36 minutes against Cleveland. Don't chase those points, man. Please don't chase those points. Like, if you want to play him on FanDuel 5 because he's 5K, go for it. I think he's a good price there. 6K on DraftKings, no thank you. But don't think he's going to put up another 60 burger. He's probably going to play 29, 30 minutes. He's been on 1.05 fantasy points per minute. So again, if 30 minutes at 5, he can get you around 6K on FanDuel. I'm fine with that. On DraftKings, I wouldn't do it. On FanDuel, I can see you playing him. Saboner, 6,200 on FanDuel, 9,800 on DraftKings. I don't really love that price tag. Brogdon, 8K on DraftKings, 6,700 on FanDuel. Now, that's a pretty interesting price on FanDuel. 1.09 fantasy points per minute. Again, going up against Denver, that's a nice tag on him. I like both these guards, actually. Brogdon at 6,700 and McConnell at 5K on FanDuel. Those are pretty good prices. I'm never a Miles Turner guy. 6,500 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DraftKings. I just can't play him, especially going up against Jokic. And that's about it. I'm not touching any of these other guys. But on DraftKings, it's kind of a pure fade on this team for me, going on this back-to-back 3 and 4 as well. But on FanDuel, you can make the case for all these Sabonis, Brogdon, and McConnell. But mostly the point guards here, they're pretty stinking cheap. Maybe Justin Holiday at 4,500, but other than that, no thank you. Let's move on to Milwaukee at Memphis. 234 over under. Milwaukee only favored by 6. Wow. Really, the only injury news that is pertinent to this game is Grayson Allen is out for Memphis and Kyle Anderson is probable. But on the Milwaukee side, Giannis is 11K on DraftKings, 11.3 on FanDuel. I think you can play him on both sites, but I don't know if you're going to be able to fit both of Giannis and Jokic in. But on FanDuel, you probably can a lot easier. On DraftKings, there's no way at 11K. And I'd rather play Jokic than I would Giannis right now, especially with all these 3 guys playing. Even though Drew's been on a minutes limit lately since he's come back, but he's played 18 minutes. So you can't play Drew Holiday until that minutes limit is released. And I don't think they're going to do it here. Middleton at 8,400 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. That's a good tag on FanDuel. I don't mind playing Middleton on FanDuel. 8,400 on DraftKings is a little expensive for me. 37, 38, 48, 35 in his last 4. Again, going up against Memphis, I don't mind it, but I just don't think I'm going to get to it. Bobby Portis always has to be on your radar in tournaments. I'll say this every podcast. 4,700 on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel. He just steps it up some of these games and gets these, 33, 40-point games. And it's just got to be a tournament option. You've got to have a sprinkle of them just in case. But other than that, man, they've just been playing a ton of guys. Bud's just been throwing everybody out there. Connaughton gets a lot of run off the bench. DJ Augustin, DiVincenzo. It's just the team's fully healthy. I just don't want to really mess with it at all. Over on the Memphis side, John Morant, 7,800. They priced him up after his massive game he had against Washington. 7,600 on FanDuel, still pretty fair for him. but 7,800 on DraftKings, I don't want any part of that going up against Milwaukee. He doesn't shoot the three-pointer very well at all, and that's where you beat Milwaukee. He's going to be a slasher into the paint. I don't want to play guys like that. Full fade for Morant for me on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I guess you could play a little bit, but I still don't like it at all. Joval, 7,500 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel. You could talk me into some Joval on FanDuel, but all these other guys, Brandon Clark, 5,800 on FanDuel, 5,300 on DraftKings. Over his last two games, he's put up 31 and 36, but again, against Washington and Houston. Now he's getting Milwaukee. I just don't really like it. It's a high total. It's 234. I mean, it's a big total, but to find guys that I actually want is really hard here. Dylan Brooks, 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel. He might be one guy like in tournaments, just because if he gets his three ball going and no Grayson Allen, he could get there if he gets hot. So he might be one guy in tournaments, but in cash games and building one lineup, I don't think I'm looking at anyone here on DraftKings. Let's move on over to Miami at the Pelicans. 227 over under. The Pelicans favored by 2.5. Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler are both questionable. Gabe Vincent is in or probable, and still no A.V. Bradley. So again, big news here from Miami. We're going to need this. If we do not have Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo going up against the Pelicans, Dragic, Nunn, Hero are all going to get a massive boost. Kelly Olynyk's going to get a massive boost. So we need this news. If both these guys are out, Kelly Olynyk's going to play a ton. I love this. 4,700 on DraftKings, 4,400 on FanDuel, 0.86 fantasy points per minute, but we've seen 40 burgers out of him before. Nunn's going to shoot over 20 shots. 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. Love him. Dragic, same, too cheap. 5,900 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, way too cheap. 5,400. To stay in this game, it's going to be on the back of these three guards if these guys sit. So hard to really get into this too much. We're going to need this injury news. And that's why you got to head on over to DFSArmy and sign up. Use promo code CashKeg. Save yourself 10%. And we will be on that. Let you know what's going on. Have the injury news as they come up. Who to pivot to. We'll have the cheat sheets up and all that good stuff. And again, if you're enjoying this video, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel and turn on that notifications so you know when I upload these things and hopefully help you win some money as we break down these games. So again, Hero, Dragic, Nunn, Olynyk are the four guys that I'm looking at if Butler and Bam are out. If they are in, Butler's expensive, but first we have the All-Star break coming up here tomorrow, so I don't mind playing these guys. Don't really like Bam too much going up against the Pelicans front court, but I do like Butler at 9,400. He'll be really low owned too. But again, really hard to figure this out until we get some news on these Miami guys. On the Pelican side, again, they are on a back-to-back 3 and 4. Zion's just been putting on a show lately. 9,300 on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel. Just coming into form here. 51, 46, 49, 54 over his last 4 minutes have been high. And he's done this with only going over 20 shots once. Just absolutely smashing here, getting it done. Again, no problem playing Zion on both sides against Miami, especially if Bam is out. If Bam is out, I like me some Zion. If Bam is in, maybe not quite as much, but the way he's been doing things, I don't mind looking at him in tournaments. Brandon Ingram at 7,800 on FanDuel, 8,300 on DraftKings. I think the way Zion's playing, Ingram's production just is going way down. 29, 38, 42, 33. Those are not tournament winning scores. And a guy that I'm not really looking at as long as Zion's going off. Lonzo Ball, 6,900 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DraftKings. Dude's been shooting lights out lately. Look at his 3 points. 33%, 60, 25 there, but 60. Been shooting lights out. 28, 49, 26, 39. Just be tournaments only. Not really loving to play this guy. And then down here, Bledsoe, 5,400 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel. I think he's a guy we can look at in tournaments, but that's about it. Going up against this Miami team, this could be like even a lower. Like if Bam and Butler sit, this game could get really weird. So just pick a few spots here. This is not a game stack by any stretch of the imagination. 3 games left. Let's head on over to OKC at San Antonio. 218.5 over under. Spurs favored by 7. Al Horford is doubtful. Again, they are on a back-to-back. So what happens? We usually get some Roby in our lives. 5,400 on DraftKings. He is priced at 4,600 on FanDuel. He'll be a core play there at that price, like always. Doesn't really get there. More of like he's like more of a cash core play instead of tournaments. He tends not to get there, but he is going up against the Spurs. Again, 5,400 here. He's going to get the start, going to play some minutes. We'll throw him in this lineup here at power forward. He kind of fits pretty good in this lineup. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 9K. There's no Diallo as well, so he kind of crapped the bed last night. But going up against the Spurs, I don't mind him. 8,200 on FanDuel is too cheap. 9K on DraftKings is pretty pricey. But look, Theo Maledon, 4,200 on FanDuel. I don't mind him. 4,900 on DraftKings. I don't really love that price, but I don't mind it more so on FanDuel. And then Ty Jerome, 3,900 on DraftKings, 3,400 on FanDuel, or 34 on DraftKings, 39 on FanDuel. Dude was shooting last night. Now, if you look at the last 3 games he's played, 23, 20, and 29. So I don't know. Will they give him some more run because of how well he's been playing? I don't know. He could be a sneaky tournament option for sure. So keep your eye on him. And Lou Dort, 3,900 on FanDuel. So cheap. 4,200 on 5,200 on DraftKings. Tournament option only, but hey, that's pretty stinking cheap over on FanDuel. So there's a couple guys we can look at, but Roby's going to be the main cash target. And on FanDuel, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Roby, Maledon, Ty Jerome, Dort, all those guys are in play. Kendrick Williams even, when no Horford's out there, he's 4K. So all these guys are kind of tournament options for me. Over on the Spurs side, we got no Rudy Gay. Vassal's out. Derek White is out. LaMarcus Aldridge is questionable. So on the Spurs side of things, again, DeMar DeRozan is 8,200 on DraftKings, 8,500 on FanDuel. I don't mind some DeMar DeRozan here against OKC. They don't have anyone defensively at all. Jakob Poeltl, 6,100 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DraftKings. Without Horford there, they are horrendous in the block. So Poeltl should be a good option here in cash, I think, at that price with some upside. They don't have anyone down low when Horford is out, because Roby is a good offensive talent. He is not good defensively. There's a ton of guys with the Spurs that can play about everybody. We don't know what Pop's really going to do, even though the matchup's good. A 113 implied team total. DeJounte Murray, 8,700 on FanDuel is expensive. 7,900 on DraftKings is a nice option. I don't mind playing DeRozan, Murray, or Poeltl. I don't think I'm going to take the chances on these other guys. Maybe some Patty Mills. Trey Lyles could be interesting, though, at 4,300 on DraftKings, 4,700 on FanDuel. So I might like some Trey Lyles here. If LMA is out, I think I do like some Trey Lyles in my life, and I might throw him in this lineup and say, okay, I like him if LMA sits. He is questionable. And again, you can beat up OKC in the front court with no Horford in there. So again, that's the guy I would look at. Let's move on over to Sacramento at Portland. We have a 236.5 over under. Portland favored by 4. This is a nice hammer game here. It sucks on Sacramento. We still have no Halliburton. I love that kid, but he is not playing. Jabari Parker and Hassan Whiteside are both questionable. And on Portland side, no Harry Giles. So on the Sacramento side, to start out with, they are on a back-to-back. De'Aaron Fox, 8,300 on FanDuel, 8,900 on DraftKings. Great play on both sides. Again, against Portland, who plays no defense. These are good spots for De'Aaron Fox. I don't mind playing him at all. Bjelica's 4,400 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. You could look at playing, I guess, a little bit of him in tournaments. Buddy Hield, though, 6,400 on FanDuel, 6,300 on DraftKings. He had a night, 51 last night. When he catches fire like this, 51, 46 over his last 2 games. You got to look at playing guys like this. So look at playing a little bit of Buddy Hield in tournaments. Bagley, 6,800 on FanDuel, 6,700 on DraftKings. I can't play that price tag for him. Don't really love it. These guys are all kind of priced up a little bit, even on FanDuel. Harrison Barnes at 7K, 7,100 on DraftKings. Don't really love all these prices, guys. Holmes, 6,400 on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel. Maybe you could get some Holmes in my life playing against Portland here. Did put up a 40 spot against them in 34 minutes. If no Hassan Whiteside, I don't mind putting the little Holmes in there. Maybe he's a direct pivot off of Plumlee if you want to run like a 3-max and build the same lineup and then throw him in instead. Or if you want to fade Jokic and play like a Plumlee-Holmes lineup, I guess that's a way you could go as well. But for me, it's De'Aaron Fox, a little bit of Buddy Hield, a little bit of Holmes here on both sides, and that's about it. On the Portland side, Dame Lillard had a bad game last night. 10-7 on DraftKings, 10-1 on FanDuel. Guy put up 40 fantasy points last night, just didn't get it really going. Before that, though, 52, 51, 54. But again, they're on a back-to-back 3 and 4 as well. So both these teams should be a little tired. But again, going into the All-Star break, I think they come out and both ball. FanDuel, though, I love that price on Dame Lillard at 10-1. But I guess that's what you're doing. Are you playing a Jokic Giannis lineup, or are you playing like a Lillard Jokic lineup, or a Lillard You can't play all three of them. It's really hard to do that. Canner, 6,600 on FanDuel, 7,400 on DraftKings. I don't like that price for him on DraftKings. I'd much rather play Holmes on the other side. Rocco, 5,900 on DraftKings, 6K on FanDuel, 0.80 fantasy points per minute. He's so up and down. More of a FanDuel play for me. Gary Trent, 5,500 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DraftKings. Again, don't really love these prices. It's a good game environment, but these prices are all priced towards these guys' ceiling. Melo at 5,500. Again, I don't really love that. 5,400 on DraftKings. So don't love a whole lot of this game outside of Lillard on FanDuel. And like I said, Cantor, I don't mind playing on FanDuel, but not so much on DraftKings. On DraftKings, they're all about priced out for me. So not so much here, maybe so on FanDuel. And the last game of the night, we have Golden State at Phoenix. 224.5 over under. Phoenix favored by 6.5. Kelly Oubre Jr. is questionable. He sat out last game. Again, Steph Curry is 10-7. 9-9 on FanDuel. They're on a back-to-back. Draymond Green, 7,600 on FanDuel. 7,400 on DraftKings. Put up 39 burger in 36 minutes. Wiggins, 6,400 on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. I just don't love these guys, man. Going up against Phoenix, it's really hard. I think I'd be one guy, maybe Draymond or Steph, but I'm not touching any of these guys right now. Steph or Curry on a back-to-back, he could run 15 guys out here. So no thank you for me going up against Phoenix. On the Phoenix side, again, Phoenix is favored by 6.5 here. Chris Paul, 7,900 on FanDuel, 7,700 on DraftKings. I think you could play a little bit of him, but not somebody that I'm super, super pumped to play. But again, if I was going to play one guy on this team, it would be Chris Paul. I'm not going to guess on all the rest of these guys. When it comes to that front court, is it going to be a Frank the Tank, blowout game? Is it going to be a Saric game? Saric makes the most sense, 1.14 fantasy points per minute. And when he gets hot, he can score. So in tournaments, I don't mind a little Saric, I guess, at that price. If you wanted to take a stab at him. Ayton, I just can never get right. 6,800 on DraftKings, what's his price on FanDuel? 7,500 on FanDuel. No, thank you. There's better ways to go. Jay Crowder, 4,600 on DraftKings, 4,300 on FanDuel. That's a guy we could look at as well. I'm not really going to play Booker, but Booker on FanDuel, 7,600 is definitely playable. 8,100 on DraftKings is not. Don't really love that. So, being a nightcap game, I thought I loved the Sacramento Portland game a little bit more, but as we dive into it a little bit and look at the pricing, more so on FanDuel. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, this initial lineup build here on DraftKings. Let's head on over to FanDuel real quick and kind of see the builds that we can get out of here and how maybe the first initial optimal would go. I think the first thing we talked about was Roby. If you're building cash games, you're probably throwing him in there at power forward at 4,600. It just opens things up. We also talked about if Kawhi Leonard sits, we want Paul George in our life. I remember he was 7,900, so we got to throw him in here. And then we're probably looking at, at the point guard position, we're probably looking at playing Dame against Sacramento. Like I said, I think Fox is a great bring back in tournaments in that environment against Portland. So in tournaments, I kind of like him. If you want to pay up 10-1 for Dame, I don't mind that at all. Like I said, Fox, Lowry, no one's going to be on them against Boston, but if that game stays close, he could crush. Westbrook, if no Kawhi's playing, is a good bring back as well. There's a lot of ways to go here at point guard. So an initial build, I don't think there's nobody I'm going to love because there's so many ways to go here. Like we talked about with Miami. If those guys are out, and Butler and Bam, Nunn's only 5,800. Dragic's at 5,400, both in play. Dennis Smith Jr., if those guys are out against going back into the Garden, I like him at 5,500. There's a lot of guys here. So I'm not going to touch this point guard position because there's so many ways to go. But you can kind of see there's a lot of ways to go here. So I don't know exactly how I'll go. The biggest decision here is, are you playing Jokic? Or are you going to come down and play a Jakob Poeltl? Or are you going to come down here and play Nerlens Noel? I think those are kind of the price points you're looking at, or a Plumlee at 6,300. So cheap or expensive. If we go expensive, we lift to 5,900. Then it's going to dictate your point guard position, where you're going to look at this range where you have Dennis Smith Jr. So we'll just build a Jokic lineup in this. If you're going to come down to a Noel, or if you're going to come down to a cheaper option, then you're going to spend up a point guard. But in this particular build, I'll throw a Jokic lineup together, and we won't live up in the expensive range. Again, there's so many point guards to play on the slate. We'll do a Dennis Smith Jr. and we'll do a Dragic here. So we'll do something like this. And 6,200 left. At the other power forward position, again, I don't think we can fit a Giannis in this lineup. Yeah, we can. We still have 4,500 left. We just got to punt these others. So Jokic and Giannis can work here. You're just going to be punting this small forward position, which again, a lot of these guys are out. I don't like Ingram. I don't like Brown with those guys back. Middleton's definitely in play. Powell's definitely in play here, even going against Boston. But you're still going to be living down here a little bit. Porter Jr., 6,600. I guess we could look at him a little bit. But again, you're going to be looking way down here. Maybe a Justin Holiday you have to if you're going to play this lineup. Kendrick Williams, Dougie McBuckets. Justice Winslow at 4,400. I don't mind him. He hasn't really done a ton over these last few games that he's played. You know, the minutes haven't been massive there, which kind of hurts him. But 17, 29, 18. Just the kind of guy we can look. But this is what you're dealing with when you decide to play two studs like this, and Giannis and Jokic. So it's kind of rough. I think what you're probably doing is looking at just Justin Holiday, and maybe you do look at a Justice Winslow here if you're doing something like this, and it leaves you like 4,800 left at the shooting guard position, which you're probably looking at, you know, Alex Burks right there. Maybe a Wayne Ellington again, if those guys are all out. He went freaking nuclear yesterday against Toronto. Just couldn't miss. Put up 34 fantasy points. Again, he's mostly a shooter. Put up 25 points in 26 minutes, but dude could not miss. So that's a way you could look at it as well. Again, this is a Jokic lineup. If we went down here and decided to go, hey, well, let's punt down here to Noel, throw him. We got Giannis here. Then we can maybe upgrade one of these small forward shooting guard positions. So in shooting guard, maybe this is where we look at going Tyler Hero or Buddy Hield or something like this. Let's throw Tyler Hero in this lineup and we say that, hey, those guys are out for the Pelicans. And then we got 9,300 left here. Really can't get up to anything. So this is where we say, hey, well, let's take one of Smith or Dragic out. We can upgrade to maybe Dane, and then we're sitting at 4,600. And then we're still at this like Winslow range here again. So again, different ways to build. This is what you got to do and decide what you think is the most optimal. Just kind of go through it. But I think just first glance, Paul George is probably going to be a core play for me in cash. Roby's going to be a core play for me. There's so many ways to go at point guard. I'm not going to land on anything right now. And then the big decision for me is, in cash, I'm probably going Giannis and Roby, honestly. You could go Zion as well if you wanted to. I think that's a fair way to go in tournaments. And I think maybe even in cash games with how well he's been playing. But then center is going to make or break your lineup. Center and point guard today on FanDuel is going to make or break your lineup. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I appreciate it if you hit that like button for me and subscribe to the channel. Let's keep this thing growing. And again, I got a few extra exciting things coming up through the All-Star break. And don't forget, we got some MMA and NASCAR over the weekend. And enjoy your little break here. Hopefully you win some money and be on the lookout for a few more videos for NBA today. And with that, I'll see you on the flip side. Deuces.